What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another one. People, in today's video, we want to find out if white people and black people can get along in peace, in harmony in South Africa. Let me know if that is possible. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holla. People, if there's one thing that I would like to achieve through this platform, it would be unity. I would really like for my channel to be a champion in the fight for unity between all races, right? That is what this channel is aiming to do. And that's why I created this, why I started it, right? I want to talk about South African issues, the issues that most people don't want to talk about, the issues that most people shy away from, the very issues that pain us at the end of each and every working day. Now, having said that, right, what would make black and white, colored and Indian all get along? Now, we may not get along in everything, we may not agree on everything, but can we at least be cordial? Can we at least be fair? Can we at least be tolerant? Can we at least accept that we are the same but different? Can that just be the base rules for all South Africans to live off from? Now, why am I saying this? What could we possibly do to level the playing fields? What could we possibly do to balance the scales of imbalance? What can we possibly do to give black people, colored people, Indian people back their dignity that they lost during colonialism and apartheid? Is it possible for white people to give up the land? Is it possible for white people to give up the mines? Is it possible for white people to give up the banks? And is it possible for white people to give up the economy? Now, when I say give up, I am not saying they must totally hand everything over to black, colored, and Indian people. All I'm simply saying is there a way that all race groups in South Africa can have equal share in all the means of production? I mean, white people are going to say, but we built this stuff. We built it. And then black people and the colored people and the Indian people are going to say, on whose backs did you build the stuff on? Because you didn't build it all by yourselves. We provided sweat equity, which is true. We cannot deny that. The white people provided the brains, the white people provided the finance, and the black people provided the sweat, the tears, and in some cases, the blood. Because a lot of people have died in the mines, majority of them being black. So, is there a way that we can all reach a consensus and say, okay, from my part, I'm not in government, I'm not a rich person, I'm not super wealthy like Elon Musk, but what I can do from my side, I can give up this so that my domestic worker or my black friend or my colored friend or my Indian coworker or something can level up. Is there anything close to that nature that white people, since white people are the ones who control the means of production, right? Is there anything that they are willing to give up to share with other race groups, to bring them up to your level. Is equality a problem for white people? Is equality equivalent to discrimination to white people? Excuse me. Do white people see equality as a form of racism? Do white people see equality as a threat to their well being? Do white people see equality as a threat to their wealth, their stability, to their privilege? Is privilege so important to white people that they are not willing to let go of the means of production? Does the status quo of hierarchy matter so much to white people that to rock that boat is a cause of concern and a cry for genocide? The reason I'm asking these questions is because year after year, generation after generation, you see the cycle of poverty in the black, in the colored, and Indian community, right? And it's also now visible in the white communities now, right? And it's heartbreaking to see that now, only now in the past, I think let's just say five, 5 years that I think 5 years that you really got to get to see or got to see that poverty started hitting white people as well, you know. But that doesn't take away the fact that even though white people are now struggling, it's not on the same level as black people, as in terms of numbers and majority, because the majority of white people are still financially well off, right? There's a small minority of white people that are actually at the bottom of the barrel, right? It's sad. Like I always say in every video, and because I'm so used of seeing black people and colored people scraping at the bottom of the barrel, it still pains me to see a white person, man, male or female, scraping at the bottom of the barrel. To see a white homeless person, for me, it's almost like ah, it's unreal. It's almost like you feel like you want to stretch out a helping hand and be like, dude or lady, what happened? Why are you here? You know, how did the train leave you? Or why did you jump off the train? You know what I mean? Something to that effect. But reality bites, and then you realize that, you know, poverty doesn't choose. Not everyone's not immune to poverty. Like we all thought, you know, like when you're growing up, you grow up hearing the story that white people are rich and black people are poor and this, and you grow up listening and believing these things, you know, and when you finally come face to face with reality, it just slaps differently, hits differently, just not the same. So what would it take for white people, black people, colored people, and Indian to all get along, to share in the spoils of the country, to enjoy the wealth of the country, where everyone is treated as equals, and we live in peace and harmony? It don't have to be perfect. It does not have to be perfect. I just want it to be civil, tolerant, honest, and peaceful. Can we ever get to that level? On social media, black South Africans get mocked for having a country that they don't own. And the people doing the mocking are black Americans. And black Americans justify it by saying, we are in a white country. That's why we don't own the land. But you black South Africans are in a black country and you don't own the land. So How are we different? And I got to say, it really is true. It really is embarrassing from that perspective. Can you imagine Germany, Russia, Sweden, Norway? I'm trying to think of the snow whitest countries, Switzerland. Can you imagine majority white people and a minority black African migrants ruling and other white people mocking those people for having a minority rule over them in their own land? Do you get what I'm saying? Do you see how it is embarrassing that you own a country that you do not control? I know the land is a contentious issue. I know the economy is a contentious issue. I know the mines are a contentious issue. I know the banks are a contentious issue. But if we really put our minds to it and we really want what's best for the country, then surely we need to find a way to move forward and we need to share in the spoils of the land because no one race group can claim ownership of natural resources. To be honest, the gold in the ground was not put there by a certain race group. That's one thing that we all need to understand. That is one thing we need to believe. So when one race group decides that they own natural resources, one race group claims that they own all the animals, owns all the land, then it's a problem. Because these are things that God put on earth for everybody. Well, let's be honest. God in Africa, God placed black people in Africa. So God put these things in Africa for the black people to enjoy. That's why black people lived off the earth in Africa. And that was taken away from them by colonialism and then later through apartheid. We cannot deny that. That is the truth, right? So if we all know the truth, and we all know that the truth was rewritten, rebranded, whitewashed, why would we still feel comfortable benefiting from a crime, from a lie? And why would we still defend that crime, that lie? See, people are going to come for me and they're going to say to me, but you're missing out one thing. If we didn't come, this wouldn't be this. This wouldn't be built. And this, and I totally agree. And I totally get it. Totally. I understand. White people came to Africa and they rebuilt Europe in Africa because that's what they knew. That's what they know. They didn't come here to build huts because that's not what they knew. That's not what they know. So they came and they rebuilt their countries in Africa. Essentially, when you fly from Europe to Africa, you are basically flying from one part of Europe to another part of Europe because they're beginning to look the same. I mean, when you go to London, or if you go from Cape Town to London, what's the difference? Besides the scenery, the beauty, but everything else that London's got, Cape Town has. But if you have to fly from Kwa Kwa rural area, place rural area now, I don't know any rural area names, Kwa whatever rural area, and you fly to a village. Okay, if you fly from an African village to a European village, there's a vast difference. Vast difference. It's not the same, right? Because an African village is totally African by nature, and it does not have modern housing, or got those huts and no electricity and like a real rural that, right? And then you go to rural England. It's a vast difference. That's how Africa and Europe were actually meant to be. Johannesburg was meant to be like rural whatever, rural, rural KwaZulu Natal, rural Eastern Cape, rural Limpopo, rural, I don't know. That's what Joburg and Cape Town were meant to look like. Rural, rough animals roaming, huts here and there. That's just the way Africa was meant to be. Because then we had these like Great Zimbabwe ruins and these kind of stone structures that were to also be there. But it was not meant to look like Europe. I mean, when Europeans come from Europe and they come to Africa, those that are brainwashed to believe that it's still undeveloped, it's dark continent and all that, they're surprised. Like when they come here and they see skyscrapers, they're coming from skyscrapers, they come to skyscrapers. Wow, that's beautiful. When a rural kid from a rural wherever in South Africa goes to rural Europe, he's shocked at what he's seeing over there because it's far from what it's a different world altogether from where he's coming from. It's not the same. It's just not the same. That's how Africa was meant to be. In that state that Africa was, those that lived in Africa enjoyed the spoils of the earth. Everybody enjoyed. But since colonialism and then apartheid, only a certain group got to enjoy the spoils of the earth. So I'm saying, in closing, what can be done? What can we do to redress the imbalances? What can we do to improve relations between the races? What can we do? What can we give up from all races? What are we willing to sacrifice for the better good? What what can we all do to say, from my little point, from my little vantage point, from these little humble things that I have, I am willing to give up this so that the other race group can level up to where I am. Is that possible? Is equality possible in our lifetime? Is it possible that we do not all have to be rich, but can we at least all be on at least a livable um, wage, so to speak? Can we all be on a? I know the level. I know the playing fields will never be level. I totally get that. But instead of it being like this, can we at least be like this? At least. So that we bring the poverty gap closer. It doesn't have to be like this. Can we at least, can we just at least, instead of it being 12 times, 20 times greater, can we at least bring it down to 3, 4 times? At least, at least. Is there a possibility for that? This is my plea to the people who own the means of production. Can we at least level up the people at the bottom, the people in the middle, the people who are sinking? Can we at least try to bring them up? Like how the government of China managed to bring 700 million people out of poverty, or is it 600 million people out of poverty? Can we do that in South Africa? Can we at least bring 40 million people out of poverty? Can we at least level up those people? Because I know that the richest of the region in Africa, in South Africa, can actually do that for the majority because the majority don't really need a lot. But what we can do is alleviate the poverty that's killing the bottom half of the country. That's my plea. I hope it resonates with people out there. And I hope in my lifetime that the poverty gap in South Africa can be reduced to a level that is sustainable, that is acceptable, and that everyone can at least say, now I too am living the African dream, even if it's just for a moment. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holla.